It's a great honor to welcome you to the Nordic-African Business Summit 2022.
I can tell you that you are investing in the right continent, Africa.
Everybody always says, I don't understand the political environment. It's very difficult to have predictability. The forum is an opportunity for people to come together and talk about some of those challenges that they are perceived. Africa shows the opportunities and NABA talks about what is holding investments back.
This summit is an interesting one. I've been struck by the openness and level of willingness to engage among the people that are here.
It did not shy away from having some of the tougher debate.
The most powerful thing about NABA is that it combines policymakers and politicians and ministries of foreign affairs with businesses.
Policymakers must absolutely somewhere along the line come into play because they are responsible for putting in place the measures which will then facilitate business to do what it has to do.
Africa currently only does mining of battery metals, and the actual batteries are produced elsewhere. How do we develop and capture value instead of only exporting raw materials?
There needs to be an examination of the feasibility of some Norwegian companies actually relocating some of their own manufacturing into appropriate locations on the African continent so that there is that reciprocity.
For me now, it's about acceleration. We're running a sizable business in Africa. We've been there for 60 years. At some point, it will be our biggest business area.
There's a growing technology landscape on the continent. The young people there need internet to really achieve impact, to be able to access services and sectors that the internet can open to them.
African farmers don't have access to markets. Africa imports $64 billion worth of food we can produce.
It has a huge potential for agricultural products, but it has to be supported with modern technology.
Africa does have the potential to not just produce for self-sufficiency, but to export, and that's what we must target.
We saw a lot of presentations and dialogue and engagement in the area of energy.
Energy is very important, whether it is agricultural development or industrialization or others.
We believe that Africa has the potential to be the driver of global change.
While its wealth came from recognizing and exploiting its wealth of hydrocarbons and fossil fuels and exporting them, that did not stop Norway from being a leader in the adoption of the technologies and the energy systems of the 21st century. I think the challenge is how do we think at the scale that we need to, not just for Africa's sake, but for the planet's sake, in terms of driving a real transition towards a climate action-driven future that is built on business investment and sound industry.
There is no trade-off between developing African economies and staying within planetary boundaries. The real opportunity for the African continent is to be the first to be substantially net negative, and that is necessary for the world to reach its climate goals, but it's also one of the biggest economic opportunities of our times.
Some key statistics that we've heard from this summit. 65% of the world's arable land is in Africa. By 2024, Africa will surpass China in terms of the world's working population. 40% of recently discovered gas sits in Africa. 70% of the world's cobalt, for example, is produced in two countries, Zambia and DRC, amongst other electric vehicle battery metals. I don't think the world can continue planning its next stage or next steps without Africa at the table.